Yes. All right. So as usual, we'll just do a centering just to get us all in alignment with what we're doing here and with our highest, truest selves. So we do call forward this highest good, this highest, greatest love. We just let ourselves breathe it in. We come into this breath of who we are, this sweetness, this gentleness. We can just relax into it and let the rest go. Anything that's distracting, concerning us. And it's even okay if that continues to be something going on in your mind or whatever it is. We can still relax. We can hold these paradoxes. And we just come into the gratitude for having a space to show up and be seen, and be who we are, and love ourselves in greater ways, in gentler ways. So really this is a gift to yourself, however you choose to participate. And so if you have an intention for this time today, you might want to just put it out there inside of you. Let your whole self be aware of it and come into alignment with it. To know that's what's going on, and then just give it to love, give it to spirit, whatever you might want to call that. And just know that whatever you receive out of today is going to be perfect for you, and that the gifts do continually unfold in our lives. It is a adventure that keeps going. So it's not about the destination, as we've heard. It is about this process of letting go, of allowing love in greater ways, of allowing ourselves to be as we are and let that be enough, etc. And so we're just grateful to be here again with friends, with new faces, with beautiful hearts. And we just ask again for the highest good to take place today. And so it is.
And so it is. So welcome everyone. Just great to see so many of you excited to dive in. And I do also want to say hi, welcome to everyone watching the recording. We see you, we love you. Please do your best to experience this as a group of loving, as a group experience, even if you are watching the recording. So we're going to dive straight in. I will say just quickly again, my name is Zoe Lumiere. I'm the founder of Allowing.Love. I'm the wife of Eric Lumiere, partner of Eric Lumiere, and also the mum of Phoenix Lumiere, happy coach extraordinaire. And we created this 3 habits for a life that we truly adore, out of our own need to get back into the groove of doing our habits ourselves. And it definitely has worked for me this way. Being accountable to all of you definitely has given me an amazing experience over the last couple of weeks. And so we're going to dive into a bit of a recap, having a look at these 3 habits. But maybe even more important than are we doing these perfect habits, or are we following through in perfect ways? How are we being with ourselves? And maybe there is an even greater gift, a greater value here. So I'm going to share my screen a little for this part. Alrighty, so I do just want to anchor us again. So this is the 3rd workshop in a series of 3. Please, if you haven't checked out the other 2, do check out the first workshop. We dove deeply into habits 1 and 2. Then last week, habit 3, and then today we're putting it all together. So I'm just going to recap these really quickly, because in some way I really just wanted to inspire each of us just to come up with those habits that make the most sense to us. I have been doing meditation for 20 years now, and it is just it's just one of the most amazing gifts in my life. And that's how I start my day. it really connects me into love, oneness. It's a beautiful thing. But I have many friends that have that same experience walking their dog, being in nature, singing. So, what for me is really the power here is actually giving ourselves permission as adults to actually prioritize doing something that we love. So, something that we actually enjoy, something that actually just softens our shoulders, puts a smile on our face, and genuinely helps us let go of the mind and just live more fully in the heart. So, I just encourage us all to be curious about what would happen to our life if we did spend more time just genuinely in love, enjoying ourselves. So that's the encouragement with habit 2. Many of you are familiar with the 5 steps of allowing love, and this is a process of spiritual manifestation, and this really is the habit that changed my life in a very dramatic way. I had been very anchored in the spirit for a long time, but this particular habit helps me go from, oh, I'm connected to this love, this awareness, this spirit, but how do I ground it into today? How do I become more aware of my dreams, my next steps? How do I actually ground this love down and through my ego? So I can't encourage you enough to play with the 5 steps, see if they're a fit for you. It's a free training. It's always gonna be a free training. And if you do, most of you have already done it, I do know that, but if you do sign up for the free 5 steps training, you also get the opportunity to for us to send you this bookmark, which is just a really easy way to walk through the 5 steps each morning, or you can listen to this adorable Aussie voice in the meditation and receive it that way each morning.
And when do we get physical things anymore? It's actually really nice to get like some mail that's not an Amazon package.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So if you want one of those, the information is in the free steps training, and you can actually just go to allowing.love.org/bookmark. And Amelia, if you can, please, sweetheart, throw that in the chat. It is just allowing.love.org/bookmark. So I'm not going to go detailed into that. That's workshop 1. Please feel free to refresh yourself on
2.
that.
1. You're right. That was habit 2.
Yes,
That's right.
yes. And so then last week we dove into loving your challenges, and really what we're going to be diving into today is an extension and expansion of this. We try and live our life often by being so hard and pushing ourselves rather than being accepting and kind and loving. And we're going to have a little bit of a look at maybe why we're holding back on following through the way that we would like really is because of that hardness, that criticism, rather than that softness and that acceptance. So workshop 2, check that one out. But we're going to dive into today, and in so many ways, how do I say this? I feel like God, the universe, source, gave us Phoenix to help us connect to what's most important, but also to help us boldly and bravely connect more with other people in this world and really stand tall in our coaching, in our gifts, in our training, and what it is that we're here to share with the world. It's so easy for me to be the voice of Phoenix and say these amazing things because I don't feel inhibited by who's going to think that Zoe thinks she's all that. When I'm Phoenix, I can be bold, I can be brave, and I can really share this message of joy and, most importantly, of soft-heartedness. And that really has become a bit of a game changer for me. I do believe, this is so cheesy, but honor me in this for just a small moment, everyone. I believe we are all in love with dogs, and not all of us, cats, any beautiful furry creature, because of their soft-heartedness, because of their ability to unconditionally love. Even if you accidentally bump into a dog, they still love you. Their instinctive response is to love. And that really is what we're here to capture today. If we fall down, if we do something that's wrong, how can we respond to ourselves with love and with kindness? So in so many ways, this workshop has not been about constructing and completing a perfect set of habits, even though I do hope it's been valuable for you to play and experience.
Well, yeah, and one thing that just came to me today is, the ultimate habit is really just being yourself. And to me, that is unconditionally loving. And so, in a way, all these habits or whatever you choose to use, like whatever gets you there, whatever gets you to allow yourself to be yourself, to be open, to be in that natural joy. You might remember points when you were maybe more of a child, younger, where you could just be yourself, be free, be expressive. Um, be in that loving, be in that moment, be present. So really that's what we're doing here. We're giving you tools to come back to that more easily and to let go of the rest. Habit 3 is really about letting go of what is in ourselves, what has forgotten the way of beingness that is so natural to us, what has forgotten the softness, as Zoe was saying, the
Yeah,
sweetness. So
yeah.
whatever works for you.
Yeah. And so I do encourage us all just to be aware in this moment, like, how do we feel about how we have been showing up for our habits? Right? Like, maybe you started this workshop a few weeks ago and you were really all excited about doing a particular thing, about doing things a particular way. And so I just encourage you to be aware of, how do you feel about how that has gone, how you followed through, how do you feel? So I just encourage you to be aware of that. Because if you're a human being on the planet, you're probably going to be feeling a little down on yourself if you have followed through anything less than perfectly. And so really the bait and switch here today really is to support us in seeing that really it's not about following through on a perfect daily routine, but maybe establishing a life grounded in self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance is everything. And it's not ever going to be defined to a particular perfect morning practice. But the more we can be encouraging and compassionate and celebratory of ourselves, no matter however we're showing up, psychologically we are guaranteed to do more, to follow through more, if we can give ourselves that self-acceptance and that love. I do love this quote here from Robert Holden. You can take that in. It's just really powerful. Alrighty, so a little bit of psychological referencing here. There are typically two ways that we try to motivate ourselves. Through the ego, we could call this judgment, lack, comparison, but I think it's how generally we as adults think that we need to motivate ourselves. If we didn't go to the gym last week and we said we wanted to go 3 times, how do we feel about that? Are we kind of like feeling bad about that, like do better, do more? Can we feel good about what we did, or are we actually being a little critical, a little cruel, hard?
And think about the world, and really it's kind of pushed that message for a long time in terms of motivation. Look at sports. I think we look at sports in a way. Look at, I guess the military, all of that, school, all these things. So we're really rewiring a lot, like centuries of kind of a way to get ourselves to do, to participate.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too much in the spiritual, metaphysical, energetic component of this, but I think we can all see that there is a big shift going on the planet right now, and it is one from the patriarchy. It is one from a very masculine, mental, bottom line place through to one that is more focused on empathy and compassion and the world as a whole. And I do believe that more of those qualities of the feminine, and not necessarily women's qualities, but that quality of the feminine, which we all have masculine and feminine polarities. We can all be direct and tall and strong and be masculine, and we can all be like the mother, kind, nurturing, soft, receiving. So energetically on the planet at this time, I believe and I experience that we are moving one from a paradigm that is much more about make it happen, push, mental, through to one that is much more about love and compassion and acceptance. And from that place, from that love, from compassion, I believe greater action, greater fruits come from that experience than pushing, right? When we're loved and seen and taken care of, like a child running out onto the playground, we don't need to force them to go and do something. It is our nature to go out and be joy, to be love. And I know that sounds so cheesy, and I judge myself as I say it out loud. But it is my experience that when we take off those have-tos and those pressures in our life, that it does awaken more of the parts of us that does want to share, be of value, serve, really actually create great gifts and beautiful experiences in this world. So the other way to motivate ourselves is obviously love, acceptance, compassion, forgiveness, celebration. How can we be sweet, kind to ourselves? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And really, just want to say too, it's not just about action in general, because I think we've created a lot of things that have not been healthy for us, and we're dealing, for instance, with the result of pollution or things like that. So we really want to create action from our true selves, from the loving, from the compassion. This is kind of the way that we do it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So when I work with a lot of people one-on-one, and almost 90% of the time I get pushback when we start to dive into this dynamic. I believe, and there is also a great amount of psychological proof that to motivate and take care of, to be supportive of ourselves, like we are taking care of a child when they're learning to walk, is perhaps the most effective way to treat ourselves and to actually get the most out of ourselves. And so many people, when we talk about this, their challenge is, well, how am I gonna actually try to be better and do more if I'm so loving and accepting with wherever I'm at? If I'm only going to the gym once and I want to be going to the gym 3 times, how am I actually going to try and do more if I'm feeling great about going to the gym just once? And I encourage us to see that that is the illusion that our ego sells us, and it's actually profoundly inaccurate. If we could actually feel fucking great about going to the gym once this week, we would go more. It's just that we actually hold ourselves down by not feeling enough and feeling like we should have done more. So loving ourselves like we would love a child learn to walk is really the key here. And I love that we all have a visceral relationship. We kind of know what that is, right? Like we know as an adult how we would be with a child when they're learning to walk. There is no push, no pressure. And we just naturally know that they're doing their best. They're not falling over because they're wrong or bad, or they're not trying hard enough. They're falling over because they're learning, because they're flawed human beings, because they're learning. So we're going to try and harness the power and the analogy of this today.
Basically, we're all children still learning to walk in different ways.
Oh, my Lord.
So on many different levels, we all are good at different things and maybe have other things that don't come so naturally.
Yeah. I think one of the most under-recognized dynamics on the planet is that it's fucking hard being human. It's hard. There are so many invisible challenges that we have, judgments, conditions from our childhood. Even if we had a really loving, supportive childhood, we still have inner dynamics that often cause competing intentions that actually hold us back from just naturally showing up and following through on what we want. So I'm going to ask us all this question. Have you ever noticed that pushing, pressuring, comparing, judging, all of those energies of like if we fall down, are we disappointed, are we kind of kicking ourselves when we're down? What does that do? Does that give us more energy? Or does that kind of like become a bit of a weight on our back? Does that drain our energy, drain our confidence? And I'm really putting on the table here that it also drains our intuition, it drains our hopefulness, it drains that childlike curiosity and wonder and courage to really keep living life, for getting out there, for just showing up and just doing our best and letting our best be enough.
There are some people I think who do work under this in a way, but I think they're still really working from ego power, and they probably have big egos in
Hmm.
that way. But that they're like I'm gonna overcome it and do it, and that will work to a certain extent, but eventually, it's really not gonna work, and it's also not a natural heart-centered way to be or live. So
Yeah.
uh, anyway, it does work for some people to a point. We'll
Well,
say
that
that
is
because
just
it's
such
something
a
to put on the table.
profound conversation to have in this dynamic, because it does work short term. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, I created my entire corporate
Right.
career, my headhunting career, through this dynamic of pushing, of trying to make money and be so successful for the world so that everyone would think I was amazing. And with that kind of push and drive does come stress, exhaustion, and most importantly, addiction. We can't use that ego and be in that push and pressure without some part of us actually becoming addicted to some level of physical world concern. So I encourage us that this is the most healthy option. And in short-term situations too, I think it's easy to see that sometimes we do need this hard ego push, right? If I'm walking across the road and all of a sudden my little child's walking across the road and I need him to get out of the way, well, I might pull him and push him. That's okay. So in very small instances like that, we will use that push, that criticism, that ego drive, but 99 times out of 100, I'm really putting on the table that this soft, kind, loving approach is going to help you actually follow through more completely in your life.
I don't normally say this. I'm not a religious person, but I do know this quote from the Bible. At the end of something about Jesus, where He has overcome the world. Right? There's that line, and I think about overcoming, and really, it took to do that is a surrender, is a type of surrender. So I really encourage that to really, I don't know, in some way overcome the challenges or whatever is in front of us, that there is a call to surrender, to allow, to let go, and trust life. And so I think there's a powerful message in that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of we can look at overcoming as to go over or to push through. And maybe in some physical way, sure, but I think there is a greater call to surrender, to overcome any challenges, and that's what this love is about.
Yeah. So I encourage us to see that we can learn to feel great about whatever we've done, no matter how small. And I encourage us to see that we can also learn to feel good just about the fact that we're learning. Maybe that we have an intention to go to the gym or to meditate or to XYZ. Maybe even if we didn't do that at all last week, or even haven't ever yet, maybe we can feel good about the fact that we are connected to that. We have an intention for that, and we're fucking doing our best to keep on honing in on that and really allowing ourselves to follow through on it. So the most important thing here is that the pressure is what's going to hold us down and hold us away from what we want. It's scary because in so many ways we have actually performed probably very well in our life through this ego pressure. So it can be scary to let go of it. But just like the difference between a child on a playground who's kind of micromanaged and forced and pushed and told what they need to do, it kind of drains the energy. But we are still that beautiful child inside that doesn't need to be told, jump, play on the jungle gym, play in the sandbox. We have that energy in us that does follow through if we will just love it and allow it to be, have that greater freedom and autonomy that it needs. I love this quote from Osho. Growth is possible only if there is imperfection. I would like you to remember again and again, I am imperfect. The whole universe is imperfect. And to love this imperfection, to rejoice in this imperfection is my whole message, Osho. So this is also why I share a lot of Brené Brown's work. Her work on imperfection and on perfection is completely liberating when we see that it's one of the key addictions that we have as a human race on this planet. We think we can be perfect. Oh my Lord. It's impossible. On every level, it is impossible to be perfect. We've been designed to be flawed, to make mistakes. And I believe we've been designed in this way because we learn so much when we fall down. We learn to have kindness. We learn to have compassion. We truly learn how to pick ourselves up when we fall down. And so if we can really just love that we're going to fall down, love that we're going to mistakes, really appreciate our imperfection, there is great power there. So as again, learn to love yourself the way you love a child when they're learning to walk.
What was that?
So Brene Brown, if you're brave with your life, you're going to know failure. It's true. So if we focus less on what we achieved and focus more on how we are loving and supporting ourselves, I just think that could be a profound paradigm shift, right? Maybe if we focus less on actually what we did and got done in a day, but how were we kind to ourselves? How were we loving to ourselves? I think what's important to see is the way that we treat other people. We don't treat other people based on how they achieve. I don't love my friends based on if they're doing amazing in their jobs or if they're getting stuff done. I just love them because they're lovable and because they're worthy of love. I'm kind and supportive. The wonderful but weird dynamic that we have is that we're the only person on the planet that we don't extend that to. We're kind and not judgmental of everyone else and what they're achieving except ourselves. So this is the opportunity here, not an easy one, but one that we're all up to the challenge of. So it's how we show up for ourselves in our falling down that grows our muscles of love, compassion, and forgiveness. And truly it is these muscles that create miracles. It's these muscles that really deliver phenomenal results on the planet through my experience. So let's ground this down a little more practically because I used to be very addicted to my cute little habits of where I would have all these different checklists and I would kind of feel really good about, I did this, I did this, I did this. And if that works for you, great. And I'm encouraging us all to add on one thing to this that truly might be a game changer because it does ground this one principle in a very, very practical way. So when you're following through on something or you're tracking something, yes, you can check it off. Yes, you can celebrate it. Yes, you can go, yes, I did it. Fuck yes, awesome. I drank my green juice yesterday. I went to the gym. I meditated, great. But please also in that dynamic, please create another alternate way to check it off, which is called I have compassion for myself. And I just do this in seeing really in one key phrase. And it's like, hey, I'm doing my best. Even if I didn't make my green juice yesterday, I did my best. I did a great job. It was enough. I'm going to let myself off the hook. I'm going to love and have compassion for myself. I'm learning. I'm learning. And so I actually have like a little drawing thing that I color in. So I color it in 100% if I celebrate it, if I did it. And I color it in 100% if I could give myself compassion and I can tell myself I did my best. I'm in acceptance and loving. So I just encourage you to be aware that there is a dynamic of really supporting yourself. And I think the other thing that I love here is that we are really building a relationship with ourselves in this. One of the big reasons that I believe that we don't have a lot of energy on the planet, I think a lot of people are uninspired and tired and don't really feel connected to what they're doing, is because they don't actually have a relationship with themselves. Yeah. They don't have this inner relationship of like, great job, you're doing incredibly, like I see you, I love you. And when we're feeling shitty, do we let ourselves feel that, or do we shove those feelings under the rug and kind of basically just push ourselves anyway? So this does encourage inner dialogue, and it doesn't make us crazy to talk to ourselves. It means that we have genuine self-love. Self-love is not a massage once a month. It's not a pedicure. Self-love is learning how to love ourselves, love our challenges, love our disappointments, love our anger, love absolutely all expressions of who we are. And this is just a really wonderful way to do it. So we haven't gone into this in any great extent in this workshop, but I'm just encouraging us all to include this in our life in some way if you resonate with it.
Awesome.
So we're going to dive into a fun exercise right now that really will help us capture and kind of take ourselves out of the box in how we relate to ourselves in many ways. You can open that PDF, the positive projection PDF, if you like, but you actually don't need to, because I will be walking you through it. I love this quote: appreciation is a wonderful thing. It makes what is excellent in others belong to us as well. And that's what we're about to dive into. So many of you may be aware of positive projection. It's just a really profound tool for allowing ourselves to see that we're actually holding ourselves against a very different set of standards than we do other people. It's so easy for us to see the beauty, the greatness in others, but when we're trying to turn that mirror back on ourselves, it's hard. We feel overly critical and we don't give ourselves permission to see all that we're doing and see how beautiful we are. So this exercise is one that's going to help us with that, and you can go back and read that a little more at another time. But we're actually going to dive into this experience here and now. I love that we actually weren't going to do this exercise today, but my director of group programming, I sent it to her and she loved it. She posted something on Instagram going, hey, we're going to do this on Saturday. And people were so excited about it. So I'm like, oh, we better do it on Saturday. And I think it's just a testament to there is something greater than us that's in control. The synchronicities, the mistakes that often happen, there is a rhyme and a reason that's running through it all. If we will just allow ourselves to let go and cooperate and accept more with what is, we will see that there is a universe, a source that's really guiding us. And I just love that we're going to dive into this, even though it kind of wasn't on the schedule. So I am going to encourage that you all just give yourself permission to get relaxed and to get comfortable, because we're going to be doing like a closed eye process. Close your eyes in this moment and just connect to your breath. And I am going to ask that we all together in unison just ask for the greatest experience possible for us and for each other, and that only that which is for the highest good for everyone be allowed to come forth. Alrighty. So you can write down your answers to this, but you actually don't need to. You can just be aware of this inside of yourself. And yes, it will be more valuable perhaps if you write it down. It can come in more clearly. But I want you to be aware of who is the person you admire the most in the whole wide world. It may be hard to choose just one, and you can do this exercise again later for other people, but just allow yourself to be aware of who's one person that you just admire, appreciate, would love to be like, would love to experience more of how they relate to the world. So take your time. We'll give you a little bit of time to settle on that. And once you have that beautiful person, just be aware of what is it about them that you admire. Could be many things. It could be different dynamics of them. Just be aware of the variety of ways that you really love them, you admire them, you're inspired by them. We're going to take about a minute to be aware of that. You can write down whatever's present. And so you can complete that in your own timing, or move on to question 3. So, in just a handful of words, how would you summarize what you admire the most? So, it might be a word, might be half a dozen words, a phrase, but what's the heart of what you admire the most? Just allow that to be clear, allow that to show up for you. And so now be aware of what's an example of how they live that quality, that description, that summary. What's an example of how they live that in their life? What's an example? Just be aware of a small story, a small example. And so now we're about to change the tactic a little. And I'm going to ask, how do you also show up in your life in this same way, this example that you just shared? Can you easily find one example of where you actually show up in a very similar way? It may not be on the same scale, but give yourself permission to see that you actually radiantly live in the same way. And you actually wouldn't admire, you actually wouldn't be aware of what you did admire in the other person if it wasn't already alive and full in you. Psychologically, we know that's accurate. So let go of anything that you're doing to hold yourself back from seeing that you do live this way. This is a gift that you have. This is also who you are. So just be aware of how you show up in your life in this way. Let yourself feel it. Because you might be working hard to show yourself that you're not this. You might be quite critical on yourself as not doing this enough. But encourage yourself to see that that's not true, that there is a fullness, there is a beauty in your life. And no, you're not like any other, but you are fully living this gift. This is who you are. And so next question, what's an example of this? What's an example of how you do show up in your life in this quality, in this gift? You can write it down or just really take it in, honor it, see it, claim it, give yourself a huge hug for it. And so I am just encouraging us all to see that no matter what gift, whatever quality you received, it is an innate gift of yours, something that I would call a spiritual gift, an invisible gift, a gift that comes with you just being you, not having to try, not having to push or pressure you, but innately, naturally, in spirit, in your invisible nature. This is one of the gifts that you were given to embody in this life. And the more that you can give yourself permission to see it, to claim it, and to feel it, feel fucking great about it. Yeah, you've been given this gift. It's beautiful. It's incredible. It's here for yourself first and foremost, but it might also be here to support and serve and love others. Really help yourself see the gift that it is. And so, if for whatever reason you really can't see that this is a gift of yours, that you do radiate this quality, that you do live in this same way, I'm going to ask that you ask some friends and some family, some loved ones over the next little bit. Can they see it in you? They may be the angels that you need to help you shift your perspective, to give yourself permission to see that you do live this dynamic, this gift in a very full way. So we're just going to do a little bit of clearing. Whenever we dive into this kind of introspective work, we often have a beautiful opportunity to also rewire neurologically. And we do this best in self-forgiveness statements. There are lots of different ways we can do this, but I know a lot of you are already very familiar with this work. If this is the first time that you will be doing self-forgiveness statements, I just encourage you to read the screen and complete the sentence. So you can read a little bit of the preamble, but in essence, you're going to be saying statements of self-forgiveness. And this is the hard bit, without thinking, but just kind of like, I like to say, just verbal vomiting, which is absolutely horrible. I need a new analogy. But just instead of thinking, just saying whatever comes next. So I forgive myself for being so hard and critical of myself about how I don't ever know what I'm saying and I don't have anything good or great to say. I forgive myself for judging myself as an idiot. I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that no one wants to hear me and I don't have anything of value to share on this planet. Right? So I'm just going through those sentences and just saying whatever comes up, not thinking about it. So we're going to have a couple of minutes silence for you to just play with those statements of self-forgiveness. You might find one sentence works really powerfully, or you might want to just scroll through them. We'll have a couple of minutes just to clear, to rewire our belief system, to rewire neurologically.
And if you say one and there's energy on it, you don't need to rush to the next one. Maybe do it again or be with it. Allow that to move through. Because sometimes we're like, these things come through and we're like, wow, some part of me really, really believe that. And it is a great opportunity to let go of a deeper misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we'll take some time.
And so whenever you're ready, you can complete this process with seeing and claiming your truth. And the truth is whatever comes up for you. And the truth is that I'm doing my best. And the truth is that I am kind and bold and a gift to the world. Just really let yourself feel and stand tall in your truth. Alrighty, so you can bring that to completion. You can continue on with those statements of truth. Sometimes I really get a roll on, and it really is like recharging my battery, really filling myself up with that courage, that love that I do need. But we are going to move on. And so I do encourage you to see that there are a couple of applications here. And that's really just to let yourself be aware of one person, someone you admire greatly. When you're in a really challenging situation and you don't know how to move forward, often we're just in our karma, in our blind spot of how to really connect into our truth, into our inner power. So if we can call forward, okay, who would really move forward through this situation gracefully, easily, boldly, brilliantly? Okay, call that person forward. Be aware of how they feel and really claim that that's also in you. And then I like to just even be aware of, okay, how would they move through this challenge? It's wild to see how we really are all one, but often we're not just giving ourselves permission to see that really we have everything that we need inside of ourselves. Just a fun thing to play with. And so then just finally, completion. Please do celebrate yourself for being vulnerable and showing up for this kind of a thing whenever we do dive in, to thinking about ourselves and our strengths, our weakness. It is a vulnerable experience. So I just encourage you to really celebrate yourself, see yourself, and thank yourself for showing up in this way. I love the Dalai Lama quote, "Love is the absence of judgment." And really that is why self-forgiveness is, for me, and well, it's also now pretty well established in psychological circles, that it is the number one tool for clearing out those patterns, those blocks that hold us back. If we can clear our judgments, our harshness, our criticism of ourselves, it's letting go of those aspects of us that would hold ourselves back. And it is also that greater experience of love. So if you're new to self-forgiveness, please just pick it up like a new best friend. It can really help us a great deal, and I know so many of you are very familiar with it. So there are a couple of free, the other experiences that we've gone through in the workshop, there are just links there. Quote from me to complete: as we find the ways that we judge, control, and criticize ourselves, we first need to love and have compassion for how they have protected us. Only then can we let them go. This is a much deeper conversation, but when we do become more aware of these dynamics and coping mechanisms in our life, all of these ways that we are being unkind to ourselves, they are actually trying to protect ourselves, trying to make ourselves good and worthy. So it's important not to make them the devil, but to really have love and compassion for them as well. And truly in that process, we let go. We let go of that lesser, limited way, and we show up in our strength. So Thank you so much for diving in on that. Thank you so much for playing with these 3 habits, this workshop that really was just an intuitive idea to help me, to help us get back into doing our habits every day and to play in this way with all of you. What also came present as in diving into this work with our coaches was to give away 1 full scholarship to the immersion program that we have coming up in a month. And I would be lying if I didn't say that when I do create a new free offering, I do like to take advantage of this experience and invite everyone just really boldly into that opportunity, because we love to serve and give away as much as we can, but it's obviously limited. If you can see that there are dynamics and patterns in your life that you would love to release, we would love to tell you more about the immersion and show you how this self-healing works and really invite you into these tools of spiritual manifestation.
Definitely.
So if you would like to be considered for the 1 full scholarship that we are granting, please write us an email. The email's there, support@zoelumiere.com. We are also asking that you complete all 3 workshops. So please make sure because there's some very important information both in workshop 1 and workshop 2. Once you've completed all 3 workshops, please email us. Why are you ready to learn and master self-healing? And why are you ready to claim and share more of your gifts and your greatness? Please email us. We've already got some incredible applications. We will be waiting until we have them all in. And we are thinking of maybe extending the deadline until next Tuesday, but right now the deadline's going to be tomorrow. Well, that's a horrible thing to say. We're going to extend till this Tuesday. So for some of you that haven't yet watched the recordings for workshops 1 and 2, that hopefully will give you enough time to dive into those 2-hour recordings, to give yourself permission to see, is this work? Is this perspective actually resonating with you? And through that experience, if you do resonate in wanting more help, more support, please email us and we'd love to consider you. We will also start to email you. Clearly you're here because you're on our email list in some way, or you signed up for this program through something on our website. So we will start to contact you over the next few weeks about the opportunity of the immersion program. I can't really give it any better explanation than to ask a couple of my coaches to share a little bit about that, and I'm going to ask Amelia and Julia to share about this in a little bit, but I will just quickly say that the full immersion, the 4-month program starts July 11th. It goes through November 11th. You can get all the information about it at allowing.love.org/immersion. And if you are curious and you just want us to email you the full details about it, you can drop your name and email in the chat and we'll take care of that for you. And if you are interested, please do submit an application. It's just 4 simple questions, and we then send you all the full information about the 4-month program. Please just submit your application by the end of today. That way you will qualify for the early investment rate. You're obviously not committing to anything at this point. You're just registering your interest.
Nice.
So I do have just a couple of quick things to say, and that is, it looks like,
Julie couldn't make it, by the way.
There's Amelia. So sorry, I feel like I've been very discombobulated today. It's just one of those days. So I'm having an incredible opportunity to have love and compassion for myself right now. I feel a little bit off my game. But I will say that I'm just so excited to be able to share Amelia with you. I'm going to let her share a little bit about how she came to find us and participate in Allowing Love. But it's because of the way that she showed up in our group work that I'm like, I want you to be a part of the coaching team that now supports those new people moving forward. So, Amelia, if you would just share whatever comes present in this moment about allowing love, how you came to find us, and how you're now one of our coaches for the immersion program.